it stays, let f be a field and fx be a non-constant polynomial of fx, then there exists a splitting field E for fx over f. So it's clear, the statement is clear. It's just saying show that there exists a splitting field. Okay, so we will prove the result by induction on the degree of fx. So since fx is a non-constant polynomial, so what is the minimum possible degree it can have is 1. So when degree of fx is 1, then fx is ax plus b. So this is how you can write uh, any linear polynomial where a and b belonging to f. Then clearly x, it's a into x plus b by a. So this is how we write fx like this. So by splitting, what do you mean? Splitting means it should split into linear factors. Now this is already linear, right? So there is no further need of splitting. Means it's already split up. It's already split in linear factors because the polynomial is already linear. And in which field it is splitting? F itself, because the coefficients are from f. So since it is splitting in a particular field, it implies in this case f, just a minute, f is the splitting field of fx over f. So the same field acts as a splitting field. So this is trivial for degree of fx is equal to 1. Now following the method of induction, then we
Please show
assume
the previous one.
that the result holds for any polynomial with degree or up to degree n minus 1, where what is n? N is the degree of fx. So we assumed that the result holds for any polynomial up to degree n minus 1. Now we will prove it for fx. So now fx, we'll consider fx. Now, if you remember, what was the theorem which we did yesterday? The Kronecker theorem, the fundamental theorem of field theory, that says that every polynomial is going to have a root in some extension field. Now, fx has a 0 in some extension field E of f. Now, why, from where this is coming? So this is coming from the Kronecker's theorem, which was the first theorem of this chapter. So this is by fundamental theorem of field theory, you can say, or you can say fundamental theorem of algebra, the Kronecker's theorem basically. That every polynomial is going to have a 0 in some extension field of f. Right. So let A be the 0 of fx. Now, since a is a 0 of fx, since a is a, just a minute. Yeah. Since a is a 0 of fx, so x minus a is going to be a factor of fx, because according to the factor theorem, whenever we have a root of a polynomial, then x minus that is always going to act as a factor. So we, since a is a 0, so we can write fx like this. Now what is degree of gx? Is n minus 1, which is less than n. Therefore, by supposition, now in step number 2, we suppose that the result which we are going to prove holds for gx, because degree of gx is less than n, up to n minus 1. So what results hold? That there exists a splitting field, let us denote that by K, of Gx over F. So that means there exists a field in which Gx splits linearly. That is, Gx is equal to some constant times x minus a1 x minus a2 into x minus an minus 1, because this is a degree of n minus 1 is the degree of gx. So these many ais will be coming, and where these ais will be, these will be from the field k, and this b, because it may not be possible that the leading term is always 1, so there might have some multiple for the leading term, so that b belongs to f. So since gx is this, now what is fx? Fx is x minus a into gx. So you just substitute the value of gx, you will get x minus a into x minus a1 into x minus a2 into x minus an minus 1. So we see that it implies fx splits in k, right? Now where is a? Yeah, where is a? So A splits in K, or you can say what is going to be, I can give a formal structure to this K, because K is basically going to be A1, A2, An minus 1. Agree with this, because this is what we discussed yesterday, that the splitting field is always going to be the smallest possible field containing the field itself and A1, A2, An minus 1. So now it is going to be K dash. Fx is not splitting in k, but fx is splitting in k dash, because in k we just have a1 a2 n minus 1, but fx may we do have an additional factor which is a, so it is going to be f a a1 a2 an, or it can also be written like ka, because in k already a1 a2, sorry, an minus 1 were there, but one additional point now needs to be there, so that is this. So this is something like f is contained in k is contained in k dash. So where k, you can write it like this, and that is contained in f a a1 a2 an minus 1. So this is the hierarchy. So we got a splitting field, right? That's it, hence proved. So is there any doubt in this theorem? Anybody has any doubt in this proof? It's very easy, right? So that proves that there always going to exist a splitting field for a non-constant polynomial over a field f. So if you already did few examples, let's do one more example in which we are finding the splitting field. So determine the splitting field of fx. Fx is x raised to power 4 minus x square minus 2 over q, right? So this is given to you and you have to find its splitting field. That means firstly we have to find its linear factors, and then we will see that where are the roots of the polynomial. So the easiest way, the practical way of doing the questions, because theoretically whatever we are discussing, that this will exist, there will exist a splitting field, but now the question is practically how to know the splitting field. So just according to the above theorem, you know that if a1 a2 an, if these are zeros of the function, sorry, of the polynomial over f, so if sorry, polynomial is over f, but if these are the zeros, then we know that the splitting field is f a1 a2 an. So that means the question becomes very easy if we know the roots of the polynomial. So what you can do is to find the roots of the polynomial, or you can try further first splitting it as quadratic factors and then try to split it into the linear factors. So if I write it like this, so that is fine. You can easily, because x square, so it's easy, the polynomial, the kind of polynomial which is given to you, easy, you just put x square is equal to t. If you put x square is equal to t, you will get t square minus t minus 2, and then you make the factors, the linear factors from there, and then again put t back is equal to x square. So it will be easier for you to find the linear factors, and then when you put it back, so this is going to be t minus 2 t plus 1. You can do the calculation and you'll get that. So then again put back t is equal to x square, you will get f of x is this. So this is the quadratic splitting, but we want linear splitting. So this further is, we know that x minus root 2, x plus root 2, x minus iota, x plus iota. Because once it is quadratic, then it is very easy to find the roots, because everybody knows how to find the roots of the quadratic one. So now you can see where is this splitting applicable. This polynomial is over Q, but this polynomial should be over which field? Yes. Can anybody tell? What is the extension? Yes, you can look at this result. What should I, which two elements should I add, means add as an extension, so that I'll get this polynomial splitting field? Yes, does anybody knows the answer? What are the roots of this polynomial?
Plus minus iota and plus minus root 2.
Yeah, so these are the roots, plus minus iota and plus minus root 2. But I don't need all the four elements to get the extension. This is the actually, practical thing. You will see that theoretically we were writing a1, a2, an, and then this is the field a1, a2, an, but it need not always be the same number of elements. Like this was a biquadratic polynomial. It has four roots, as you can see. But we know that if we even just take the element root 2, so that will include automatically minus root 2, and we take iota, so that will automatically include minus iota, because these are rings. This is a field, this is a ring, and element's additive inverse is there, right? So the splitting field of fx over q is q square root 2 iota. Is this clear up to here? Is this example clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now we try to know how does this field looks like? What kind of elements are there in this field? Like now everybody knows the ring of Gaussian integers z iota. So we know that it is a plus ib. Ab belongs to z, and we also know what is q root 2. So q root 2 is a plus b root 2. Ab belongs to q. So this is also something similar, not directly, because actually there is a difference between the square bracket and the round bracket, but we'll talk about it, what is the difference between this square bracket and round bracket later on. But right now I'm going to tell you the structure of this, that for a field this square bracket and round bracket is the same. Actually for denoting this extensions we use this round bracket. So whenever you are extending with just one single element, then it is like this. The extension with one single element is like this. But when you're extending with two elements, so directly we do not have any way to write. So what you need to do is basically this. You split it up into two parts. That q root 2 iota is extension of, basically q root 2 iota is extension of q. But in between, this two-step extension has been done by this way, that firstly you add, I'm using the word add, but obviously it does not mean the way we geometrically add. First you append the element root 2, and then you append the other element. So this extension is done element wise. So that means first you construct from q root 2.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
Yes, am I not audible? I don't.
Now you're audible. Your voice is lagging.
Okay, I'll try to explain again, that you extend it with the first one element, and then you extend with the other element. So how you construct this q square root 2 iota is basically, so you just treat it like one field. You can call it, say, k iota, where k What is K? K is Q root 2. So this is A plus iota B. What is K iota looks like? A plus iota B. AB belongs to K. This is how we know the extension with single element is done. Like Z iota is A plus iota B, AB belongs to Z. So K iota is A plus iota B, AB belongs to K. Now I will use the definition of K. So this is A plus iota B, AB belongs to K. K is Q root 2, right? Now how does the element of Q root 2 looks like? This A plus B root 2. So A will be something like alpha plus iota, sorry, A will be alpha plus root 2 times beta, and B will be gamma plus root 2 times delta, where alpha, beta, gamma, delta, these all elements belongs to rationals. So this is how you give a structure, because it's not just you finish the question here that this is the field. You should know the characterization of the field, what kind of elements are there in that field, right? So obviously if you put gamma and delta 0, so it will contain the elements only of q root 2 type. If you put beta 0 and delta 0, it will contain only the complex numbers alpha plus iota beta. If you just retain alpha and put beta gamma delta all equals to 0, it will contain q. So obviously this all the elements of q can be generated from here. So this is definitely an extension of q. Is this clear? Is this calculation clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So we found the splitting field and then we just uh, calculated the characterization of that splitting field, that this is how the elements of that splitting field are going to look like. So we can have more examples, but those will be taken up in the tutorial. So you will be given polynomials and you need to find their splitting fields. So now I'm going towards the next theorem, which says that let F be a field and Px belonging to Fx be irreducible over F. If A is a zero of Px in some extension E of F, then F of A is isomorphic to this, right? So there is a next part of the theorem, but that need not be done. We just need to prove this much, that F of A is going to be isomorphic to this one. So if you remember, yesterday I gave you example for the same, that this polynomial x square plus 1, if your underlying field was rational. So this is an example of this theorem which we did yesterday. So we know that the roots of this polynomial are going to be in some extension, right? So and this polynomial, this x square plus 1 is actually a irreducible polynomial over rationals. Then if we do this, then since this is irreducible, so we know that this is a maximal ideal, and therefore this turns out to be a field. So which field this is equivalent to? It is isomorphic to another field, and that another field is q iota. This we used yesterday. I told you, maybe I can show you in the beginning. I gave you the example, and there I told you that this qi is going to be same. Yes, yesterday I was then explaining you this example, that actually till yesterday we knew this result, that this is how we construct the extension field where the polynomial is going to have 0. That whatever, if it is irreducible, you just divide by the ideal generated by it, means you just factor by the ideal generated by it. In that field there will be a 0. So that is going to be isomorphic to this field, because now we know how this thing is defined. Now, with the previous example, we know how f of a kind of elements are defined. So now this is what formally we need to prove, that these are isomorphic, that these two fields are isomorphic. So let's do proof of this theorem. So to prove isomorphism, obviously I need to first define some map. So let me define a map from fx to f of a. So how I am defining this map? That phi of any polynomial, because the elements of fx looks like polynomials. So why, where this phi takes, this polynomial takes to f of a, right? So any polynomial is mapped to its image under the element a. So it's very easy to verify that phi is a ring homomorphism. So this part I'm leaving to you. It's very easy to verify the properties of ring homomorphism, that this phi is going to be ring homomorphism. Right. So now we are going to find kernel of phi. Okay. So px is given to us a polynomial, right? So px is given to be irreducible and p of a is 0. This is given to us. These both points are given to us, that this polynomial is going to have a root somewhere. So this p of a is given to us 0. Now, if p of a is 0, so that means phi of p of x is 0. This and this is the same thing, because by the definition of phi, phi of fx is fa, so phi of px is pa. Fx is a general polynomial, that is how the phi map is defined, but now I'm specifically talking about polynomial px which is given to me. So phi of px is 0. So if phi of any polynomial is 0, it implies phi of this is also 0. That means if you take any multiple of px, how are the elements in this? So in the ideal generated by px, we have all multiples of px. So if phi is mapping px to 0, so that means it is mapping all the multiples of px to be also 0, because 0 times anything is going to be 0. So that means this phi is taking all these things to 0. It implies this px is part of kernel phi, because kernel phi, what is the definition of kernel phi? Kernel phi contains all those polynomials belonging to the field whose image is 0. Image is phi of fx. Phi of fx is f of a is equal to 0. So we have found all the multiples of px to be mapped to 0. Therefore, this set, this ideal has to be a subset of the ideal, because kernel of phi is also an ideal. Is this point clear up to here? Any doubt up till this point? Okay, so let's go ahead. So Px as an ideal is contained in kernel of phi, and we know that kernel of phi is going to be an ideal of fx. We know that, right? But this ideal is maximal, because why this is maximal now? Because the polynomial is given to be irreducible. So that theorem which we did in the previous chapter, that is very much used in all these results, that if you have an irreducible polynomial, then the ideal generated by it, the principal ideal generated by it, is always going to be maximal ideal. So now since this is a maximal ideal, so that means this kernel of phi, it implies kernel of phi, either it is same as px or kernel of phi is same as f of x, right? Because there can be no ideal intermediate in between px, the ideal, and fx, right? Now, if kernel of phi is f of x, it implies phi of 1 is also 0. 1 is also a polynomial, right? 1 is a constant polynomial. That means your constant polynomial is 1. So f of x is mapped to f of a. Phi of f of x is mapped to f of a. So phi of 1 should be 1 because the constant polynomial needs to be mapped. This is the definition of phi, that its image should be f of a. So if fx is 1, so it is a constant term, right? So f of a is also 1. So this should happen. But since we are saying this 1 is in the kernel, because we are saying kernel of phi is the whole of the ring fx, that means it is mapping everything to 0. So these two statements, these are contradiction. Because on one side we are saying every polynomial is being mapped to 0, but on the other side I'm giving you the example of this polynomial which is 1 who is mapped to, which is mapped to 1. So this is a contradiction. So that means this thing is not possible. So this implies the other possibility is true. Kernel of phi is same as p of x. So once we found kernel of phi, so by the fundamental theorem of homomorphism, so what is the homomorphism? Phi is being defined from this to this with kernel of phi is equal to px. Then so we know the fundamental theorem of ring homomorphism. This fx divided by kernel of phi should be isomorphic to f of a. And what is kernel of phi? We have just computed this, and this is what exactly we wanted to prove. This is a very important result. So it's very easy to see how the fields are isomorphic to each other. Like one side we are saying its root is going to lie in this field, and on other side we are saying this is also a kind of field which we have just defined. So now we have proved they are same, they are isomorphic to each other, right? So this is the proof of this theorem, and there is a corollary to this theorem which says that if a is the 0 of px is same irreducible polynomial in some extension of f, and b, suppose there are two zeros of the polynomial, quite possible, and b is 0 of px in, say, in this is extension e, and some other 0 lies in some other extension, e dash of f, then f of a is isomorphic to f of p. So the polynomial should be irreducible. That's important. This result is not in general true for any polynomial. This is true for irreducible polynomial. That for irreducible polynomial, if you are trying to find its splitting field or trying to find its zeros, so these are going to be isomorphic. Now, why this is true? Because according to the above theorem, f of a will be isomorphic to f of x by px, and f of b will also be isomorphic to f of x by px, and since they are same, so they are also isomorphic to each other. So we'll see where we will be using this result. Right. So that's the proof of this theorem. So let me give you another example for the a particular polynomial, and we need to find its splitting field. Yes. So can you find this? This is a polynomial fx, x raised to power n minus a. I want to find its splitting field over Q. So the way I explained you in the previous example, that it is first important that if you know the zeros of that polynomial, then it will be very easy for you to find the splitting field, because that is how we have known the construction. So first step is you find the roots of this polynomial, you find the zeros of this polynomial. So yes, find the zeros of this polynomial first and tell me what are the zeros, and then we will construct the splitting field.
Ma'am, A.
Hmm? How many roots it is going to have? Only a?
Ma'am, N times.
Sorry?
N times A.
No.
1 by n times.
It's not true. If the polynomial is x square minus 3, if the polynomial is x square minus 3, then you how a is going to be root? First of all, a is not a root of it. A raised to power n is not making it to be equal to a. Suppose you are saying x square minus 9. Say if it is like this, then 3 is a root of it. But if 3 is a root, then minus 3 is also a root, right? It's not like whichever root is visible to you, just say that root is being repeated n times. A is first of all not a zero of this polynomial. There are some other zeros. So this is the task which I given to you. This is a 12th standard class of question. You need to find zeros of this polynomial. And we have already done similar questions in this course only. Yeah, work it out a little bit. Roots of unity. You have idea of roots of unity?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you solve this polynomial? X raised to power n is equal to 1.
Nth root of a, obviously.
Yeah, what are the roots of x raised to power n is equal to 1? Okay, what are the roots of x square is equal to 1? 1 and minus 1. Then what are the roots of x cube is equal to 1? 1 omega and omega square, where 1, what is the value of omega? From where this omega is coming? Omega is a primitive cube root of unity. Omega cube is 1, but omega square is not equal to 1, and omega is also not equals to 1. So we have always this equation. So omega is going to have a certain definition. We know that. We can find that. We just divide this polynomial by x minus 1, then whatever it turns out to be, that is going to be a quadratic polynomial. You solve that, whatever roots you will be getting, that is going to be omega. So similarly, x raised to power n is equal to 1 is going to have n roots. What are those roots? 1 omega, omega square, up to omega n minus 1, where what is omega? Omega is primitive nth root of unity. Omega raised to power n is going to be 1. Or you can say it like this, the roots are omega, omega square up to omega n. Omega n happens to be 1. So same is here, your equation is x raised to power n minus a, right? So its zeros are going to be, it's just in place of 1, it is a. So when you will be putting this equals to 0, it will be a raised to power 1 by n, right? So this is going to have n roots. You can use De Moivre's theorem for the same. There are many ways to do that. So this is the roots are a raised to power 1 by n, a raised to power 1 by n into omega, a raised to power 1 by n into omega square up to a raised to power 1 by n omega raised to power n minus 1, where omega is the primitive nth root of unity. Is that fine? These are the zeros. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
So once you find the zeros, now you tell me what should be the splitting field. You can follow the previous example. How do we construct the splitting field when we got the roots? So the splitting field of x raised to power n minus a over q is, तो हमें q के साथ extension करना है.
A की power 1 by n and omega.
Yes, I'll be taking these two elements, a raised to power 1 by n and omega, right? So omega because if omega is there, so its every power is there because of the ring multiplication, right? Omega is there, omega into omega is there. It's closure. The field is closed under multiplication. So omega is there, omega square is there, omega raised to power. All powers are there. So all these powers will be there. If a raised to power 1 by n is there, so their powers, their products with each others are also there. A raised to power 1 by n into omega is also there. So all these roots can be generated just by appending with these two elements, right? So a being something like the property having that a raised to power 1 by n. Now particularly, so this is the answer. Splitting field of this polynomial over q is this one. Now particularly if a happens to be something uh, like in a particular example, say you have, if means if n is say 2 and a is say 9 in particular, like this polynomial x square minus 9, then we know what are the roots: x minus 3 and x plus 3. So then its extension is going to be same, means then over q the splitting field is q only. So in particular cases, if a raised to power 1 by n and omega they belongs to q only, then there is no need of extension. So this is a general way. Obviously अगर ये दोनों रैशनल भी होंगे तो वो रैशनल्स में ही आ जाएंगे, देन उनको अलग से अपेंड करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So in particular example it may happen that one of them or both of them happens to be rational number, so we will not need to append that. But this is the general answer for any given polynomial of this kind, right? Is that clear? Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. So one quick more example for you, which you people will be doing. Find splitting field of x raised to power 4 plus 1 over q. Find its splitting field, x raised to power 4 plus 1. So the same technique. Yes, you have 2 minutes. Solve this one and let me know the answer. Yes, anybody got the answer? Yes, Kushika. Sanjoli.
-1 और +1 आ रहा है तो शायद गलत है.
What are the roots of this polynomial? This is a very important question. What are the roots of this polynomial? If you people are not
बोथ रूट्स ऑफ यूनिटी बनेंगे तो e की पावर I 3π/4 हो जाएगा, फिर माइनस का, फिर ऐसे ही e की पावर I π/4.
Yeah, so when you will be writing x raised to power 4 is equal to -1, then what is -1? -1 is e raised to power iota. This is either you write minus e raised to power, so it's e raised to power iota pi, because we know that, right? Cos pi plus iota sin pi. So cos pi we know is -1, right? So this is how, and when you will be using this, so there will be e raised to power iota pi by 4, and then 4 further roots will be there. Or you can write in other sense only, omega square, in that sense only. It means in the terms of primitive roots of unity also you can write that this is what it is going to happen, because what is -1 raised to power 1/4 is e raised to power iota pi by 4. It's the same thing which we just did above. The roots are going to be, okay, a raised to power 1 by n, a raised to power 1 by n omega up to this. So here our a is -1. So it's -1 raised to power 1 by 4, -1 raised to power 1 by 4 into omega, -1 raised to power 1 by 4 into omega square, -1 raised to power 1 by 4 into omega cube, where omega is primitive fourth root of unity, and -1 raised to power 1 by 4 is nothing but e raised to power iota pi by 4. So that is how you get to know the roots of this. Now, what is going to be the answer? What is going to be the splitting phase? E raised to power iota pi by 4 you should include as, and into omega element you should include, right? So you try this question. You could to completely solve this one properly. I just don't want to do it in hurry, because I don't know why you are not able to solve these kind of questions. These are easy questions. Still we have not come at the difficult questions. You finish this one, all of you, and we'll take up the rest of the examples next time. Thank you.
मैम
हाँ, yes, बोलो.
लेक्चर अपलोड कर देना मैम, आज वाले वो देखने रहते हैं मैम.
I will do that.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू मैम.